Hi, I'm Jim Gordon for SmallCapPower, and well, we're on location today at the offices here in Vancouver of Centurion Minerals Ltd. I'm with Dave Tefel, who is the CEO of the company, and we're in his office right now. And Dave, we talked last spring. Good to see you again.
Thanks very much, Jim. Good to see you too.
You too. Thank you. Let's go back to what we were talking about last spring with just an overall view of the company to begin.
Right. Well, Centurion Minerals, we're listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange, or symbol CTN. We're an agricultural gypsum fertilizer producer in Argentina, South America. We were talking about where the status, where we were, etc. We outlined a resource. We've built a processing facility, basically a crusher. Effectively, it's a gravel pit kind of an operation near surface. And we've been selling product to Argentina, and we've now opened the doors into Paraguay. But I guess at our last discussion, we were talking about the weather in
not to
South
make
America.
light, but
yeah.
I think one of the things I was saying to you is that you guys, solid company, but you are beholden to the weather. And El Nino, El Nina, drought, floods, everything. You've got to contend with all that.
Well, it's every farmer and the agricultural industry falls into the same category. We are, we can be blessed and we can be cursed with certainly the weather. With the flooding in particular, that with the water coming up and then disappearing back in as the soil's dried into the ground, it's left a layer of salt over much of the planting areas, agricultural areas in Argentina. And the salination it makes it very unproductive and certainly much less productive than the fields were before.
Sure.
So how to overcome this? Well, gypsum fertilizer is one of the main ingredients to be able to bring the salt back down below the surface of the soil. That combined with some other components and seeding, etc., is really the way to revitalize those soils.
Okay.
So I think we've got a product, we've got a process now to be able to help farmers in that area. So I think it's just sort of turning the lemons into lemonade, so to speak.
I want to move on to another country in South America just a second, but just last touch on Argentina. Being based, having some of your work based there, you're also having to deal with the currency as well. And
Correct.
How do you guys adapt to that?
Yeah, there's been a fair bit of news up here on the currency fluctuations in Argentina. The peso has effectively been devalued. They've had talks going on with the IMF about borrowing a substantial amount of funds. It looks like that is going through. That's been positive. But in the interim, we've had these fluctuations. And over the last year, the peso has been devalued pretty dramatically relative to the US and the Canadian currencies. Tough times for a large amount of the Argentine people.
Sure.
However, from our standpoint, we're actually benefiting because our sales are in US dollars. Our production costs primarily are denominated in pesos, in the local currency. So actually our spreads are better than they may have been. So again, that's a bit of a benefit to us.
Last time we spoke, you were moving more and more into exports there. Can you talk a little bit more about what's been happening since we last spoke last spring?
Correct. So we've developed some very good contracts into Paraguay with some large agricultural distributors. We've announced one contract for 7,500 tons of material. That's a gross of about $600,000 to $700,000 to us. We're expecting several additional ones to come through in Paraguay. And the planting season's actually a little bit ahead. They're a little bit offset with Argentina, so the Argentinians will come along fairly shortly. But right now, the Paraguay seems to be taking off quite well for us.
We're talking right now in the latter part of 2018. I will throw one last question at you, and that is, can you talk about where you're looking into 2019 and the future?
Well, we've got sort of two aspects of the company. Our bread and butter is really the sales of the gypsum fertilizer. We have a plant that's capable of processing and we're capable of selling 40,000 tons of material per year. In addition, we have announced quite recently a new division that we set up called Optimagro. That is a division that is set up to primarily revitalize soils and and we will be acting as the operator on
And this is
on
the
that
deal you
division.
just announced.
So we just announced that, so that's a large component of what we're working on, and I think where the future of the company is really going to be growing.
Thank you for sharing some of this today, and we wish you best of luck with the company and, of course, the weather. And thank you for welcoming us into your home here today, which is the offices of Centurion Minerals Ltd. We'll be talking with Dave Tefel, who's the CEO. That's it for me. I'm Jim Gordon. We've been doing this for Small Cap Power.